Here we go with Suetonius, the illustrious life of Persius, who was a poet. We have Oles Persius Flaccus natus est. He was born Pridae, the day before, known as Decembers. The known as of Decembers is on the Roman calendar. Fabia Persicus and L. Vitellius consuls. This is an ablative section with these as the consuls. And he decesseted on the 8th calendars Decembers. And we have these other guys as the consuls, P. Marius and Alfinius Gallus. The dates he was born would be December 4th in AD 34. The date he died was November 24th, AD 62. Okay, so it started off he was natus and he was deceased. And again, he was natus. He was born in Oturio, which is a place. The name of the closer up version of where in Etruria was Volaterra, Volaterracia, Equis Romanus in opposition to Natus, so he was a Roman knight. Sanguine, we're gone into the ablative. So by blood and affinitate, which is marriage, prime ordinus viris conjunctus. So natus, equus romatus, and conjunctus, these are all nominative. So he was joined to viris, primi ordinus, men of the first ranking, basically, who were senators. He decesseted again. He was deceased at Octavium Milarium, so close to the 8th milestone, Via Appia, in the Via Appia, on the Via Appia, in Praesidus Suis, in his farm or on his land. Pater eum Flaccus, so his father is Flaccus, reliquit, he left eum him a pupillum. This just means a small child, really. Morian, so he was dying. Enorum fere sex. So fere and firme, as we talked about before, mean almost. So he was almost around 6 years of age. Around that time his father died, leaving him as someone's pupil. Fulvia Synestia Mater Eos. So his mother Eos, is Fulvia Syncinea. She nuptiated postea. She married afterwards, after this death, the Morians bit. Another Equito Romana. She was married to a Roman knight, Fusius. That's his dative form there. And eum quoque, and he also extulited intra porcos annis. And within a few years he was taken away. He died. Studvit Flaccus. So Flaccus studied usque as far as at annum, was that 12 Atis, till these 12th year of age, this age of 12 years. So it was his age. Volaterras, this is this place that was in Eretria where he was natus stand. Okay, and then in de Roma, another locative, then at Rome, apud grammaticum remium palamonem. So this was with a grammatarian, Remius Palamone, and apud the rhetor. So there are two different types of teaching. One's a teaches grammar, one teaches rhetoric. Virginium flavum, so Virginius flavus, I'm guessing, in the nominative. Cum esset, when he had been enorum ex vi, when he had been 16 years of age, he copited, he began an amitica, a friendship, or began to use a friendship, to enjoy, you might want to say with auto. He began to enjoy a friendship, and friendship's listed in the dative, in the genitive. He had the friendship of Aeneas Cornutus, Aeneas Cornutu, ita ut, sometimes these correlatives are separated, sometimes they're joined together, thus so much that he, nusquam never, ab eo, from him, disciderated, he never left his side. Aequo, from whom, or from which, this guy up here, he was inductus, it was led in the past passive. Aliquant tennis, this is in the tennis family of adverbs, which means as far as aliquat something, in philosophiam est. By him he was inductus est, to some extent into philosophy. That might be our daily dictionary word. Okay, so I've set up our daily dictionary word. Aliquat tennis, from aliquat in tennis. Aliquintuenus, not comparable adverb. To some extent, in some manner, he learnt it, the philosophy, or in some respects, or partly learnt philosophy. So, yeah, to some extent, he learnt philosophy. Okay, amicos. This is friends in the plural, accusative. Habwit, he had a prima adolescent, from the first of his adolescence, or his adolescenthood, is that a word? He had friends, plural. Casium basum poetum, he had the poet Cassius Bassus, and here's the other one making up the other of this plural, Calpurnium staturum. Calpurnius staturum, qui, who, I think that's a singular, qui, for this fellow here, statura. He decessed, he become deceased, as we've seen up here. We've used decessed up there, and we've probably used it here again, decessed, and so now Calpurnius statura, he died, and we have the ablative absolute section. While Persius was still a young man and he continued living, eo vivo Juventus. So he had these friends from the first of his puberty onward sort of thing, and one of these friends died, but he continued to live. Colwit, he cultivated, looks like an indicative perfect, which would take ut here as an as most likely if they Colwit's the verb. Colwit ut patrem servilium nonianum, that's a short sentence. So he cultivated as a father servilium, or he treated him as a father servilius nonius, and he cognivated, he got to know per cornutum was this guy up here, from whose side he nusquam discesserated. And we got to know through him, etiam even, got to know even Lucerne. Lucerne's a famous poet. A quivum auditorum, so he was a helper, an auditorium in the accusative of cornuti, in the genitive. Equavum, of the same age, of the same era basically. So we got to know even Lucerne, who was a helper of Cornutus in the same era. Lucernus, Mirabato, he was amazed, or amazingly, adio. Oh, we've got an adio ut correlatives. The such sense with the scripta Flacci, the writings of Flaccus, ut that, to such an extent, these so good that he was amazed to such an extent, that scarcely he could retinerate it, say, which is reflexive. He could hardly retain himself. Recitente, we've got some discrepancy in the text, so I'll convert it to the lobe, as I think it's more trustworthy. Okay. Recentium a clamor. So, as he was reciting in the present participle accusative, and he had a shout, quae, which Ilias, which were his assent, were vera esse. Okay, there's the vera esse bit. It's actually inverted, but it's close enough. Pomata, say, we've got different pronoun. Ludos, that shouldn't be a capital I, this is ludos, as in playfulling, and facere. And we have dicere. It's not that different than facere, I suppose. Might as well change the whole up. Facere. Okay, so if we go over that section now. Lucerne was amazed to such an extent by the writings of Flaccus that scarcely was able to retain himself while he was reciting. He lifted up a shout, which he said his were more vera pomet. He was a true poet, and that, say, himself, he was making just plays, but he was more mocking or being playful. Okay, a bit of scrolling, okay. Sero, it's an adverb, means late, cognivit. He got to know late at also Seneca. Said non, but not ut caparento, that's the wrong amount, but not so carparento eos ingenio. But so he wasn't taken or captivated by his ingenio, by his talent. Usus est, is familiar with or is enjoying apud cornatum. So with this guy, probably at his house, cornatum convictus, a fourth declension. It means can mean a dinner party, or it can mean in the company of duorum, doctorimus, and sanctissimorum virorum. So we've got a triple genitive, we've got two superlatives. So of two of the most learned, doctissimum and the most sanctissimum, I guess they're honourable and upright men who probably worship the gods or something. Akrita, so it's an adverb, so he was seriously or enthusiastically tunc then philosophantium. So this guy's house, and the two people named, these duorums, who he enjoyed the company of, was Claudi Atherni Medici. So this guy's a doctor. Lacedaemonians are Spartans. So it's Claudicus Agatherni. What the hell's his name in English? I might as well go all the way. His name is Claudius Agathernus in English. And the other guy's name is Petronius Aristocrates. Okay, so that's its form in Latin. So genitive, 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 genitive. And this other guy's from magnetus here, which is in English is magnesia. If you want to check in an atlas where that was. Quos, whose, this is them, the two people, unique, miratus es. So he admired them uniquely and emulatus. He emulated them or tried to be in their way or conduct himself in their way. Cum equales essent, when essent they had been, equals cornutu. So what have we got? We've got cornuti up here, cornuti up here, cornuti up here. So there's lots of information on him. So he was they were the same age as Cornutus, and Ipsi himself, he was minor esset. He was younger. Idem, so the same guy, decem ferreanus, almost 10 years. Now this dialectus here isn't the recruitment, which you've seen. This is a past passive from when you are beloved by someone. You might want to say he's beloved by Persius Thracius, sumai, a great deal in the highest regard. He was loved or delighted in by Pietus Thracius, and we have ita ut, correlatives in, so much so that peregrinator quoque, so that when he went abroad, peregrine, you have peregrine falcons and other things in English, doesn't directly translate, but means to go to abroad. Also, cum eo, with him, aliquando, sometimes. So he was so loved by this guy that even when he went abroad, he went with him sometimes. Cognatum eus, so this is a blood relation of his. Ariam uxorum he had a wife, Aria, who was related to him. Okay, so that's a bit of that relationship there. Fuit, he was of mores lenisomor, so he was mild-mannered, gentle, and soft. Veracundiae virgin, he had the modesty, or sometimes he used the shame, but he had the modesty of a virgin, so he wasn't in the prostitutes, I'm guessing. Formae pulchra, he had a very handsome shape or features. Pietas erga means towards. Matrum et sorem and amitia, so towards his mother and his sister and his aunt, there was pietas, exemplar, sufficientis, so he's sufficient, pietas, an example of pietas, so he was sufficient of an example of piety towards these three. He was frugi, which is an indeclinable, it means honest, things like that. Pudicus. Well, that's it for the day, that's tomorrow. So that's it for the day. He had Pudicus. That's a description of him, which the Loeb calls pure. You can Google it for yourself if you don't know. The end.